Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Tony Schnadelbach.
And I'm Jessica O'Connor.
And we are part of the team that created Mississippi Distilled, Prohibition, Piety, and Politics, open now at the two Mississippi museums.
Mississippi Distilled explores the history of alcohol in our state, from its earliest arrival on European ships, through temperance activism, and 58 years of statewide prohibition. In this video, we'll be sharing a small portion of that history with you, how alcoholic cocktails became popular in Mississippi, and the female-led temperance movement that combated them.
For the rest of the story, we'll hope you'll join us here at the two Mississippi museums to see the rest of the exhibition. The history of the alcoholic cocktail goes back to the turn of the 19th century, but cocktails really hit their stride after the 1860s as bartenders developed new flavors, ice became readily available, and people called for more variety in their drinks.
During the 1800s, Mississippi was full of frontier towns that looked a lot like our idea of the Wild West, complete with saloons. Saloons and taverns were a center of public life where people gathered to socialize, eat, drink, and be entertained. The city of Natchez boasted at least 12.
However, as public drinking became more and more common, some Mississippians began to fight against it. They were called temperance activists, and they fought for nationwide prohibition, or the banning of all alcohol. Jessica, can you tell us a little bit more about the temperance movement?
Sure. For the first time in U.S. history, women led the charge in a political movement. And remember, this was decades before women had the right to vote. In Mississippi, an organization called the Women's Christian Temperance Union thrived, beginning with chapters in Oxford, Corinth, and Meridian. These women campaigned, wrote petitions, and marched relentlessly, often working with the National Prohibition Party and the men of the Anti-Saloon League to create laws. In 1908, the Mississippi WCTU succeeded. Our state passed total prohibition. But the WCTU wasn't finished there. Women who had found their political voices with the temperance movement began to champion other causes. They fought for suffrage, child labor laws, and an end to domestic violence. But in Mississippi, these worthy causes were afflicted with a strong undercurrent of racism. Though other states established African American chapters, the Mississippi WCTU only accepted white women to its ranks, and many of its leaders, like Carrie Bell Carney and Nellie Nugent Somerville, were active in upholding white supremacy. The WCTU thrived in Mississippi through the late 1900s, even winning national awards for membership. They encouraged temperance by distributing pamphlets, textbooks, and lesson plans, and published a newsletter called The White Ribbon to get their message out.
Why was it called the White Ribbon?
Well, WCTU members showed their support for temperance by pinning small pieces of white ribbon on their clothes. And eventually, they used metal white ribbon pins like the ones you see here.
The WCTU definitely worked hard to establish prohibition.
They did, but not all Mississippians supported them. What can you tell us about those who worked against prohibition laws?
After 1908, alcohol and bars moved underground. Speakeasies, clubs, and juke joints hid their alcohol from the authorities. Moonshiners still made alcohol during Prohibition, but much of it was of poor quality or even dangerous. Cocktails, or drinks that mixed spirits with fruit juice, cream, or seltzer, took off as a way to disguise badly tasting liquor. Cocktails like the Manhattan, Sidecar, and the Daiquiri were served at bars and cocktail hours throughout the state. Jessica, did the WCTU combat illegal alcohol after Prohibition was enacted?
They did. Many local chapters helped prohibition enforcement, and some worked to fight the appeal of liquor in social situations, particularly cocktail hours. One campaign the WCTU developed was called the Fruesta Hour, a combination of the words fruit and fiesta. Fruesta Hour showed people that social hours do not have to involve alcohol and encouraged people to make non-alcoholic drinks like fresh fruit punches and temperance highballs.
So Jessica, is a temperance highball as complicated to make as a cocktail?
What do you say we try our hand at the recipe?
All right, well, what are the ingredients?
You'll need the juice of 1 lemon, 3 tablespoons of grape juice, water, seltzer, sugar to taste, and 1 well-beaten egg. If you're making this recipe at home, be sure to use a pasteurized egg for safety. Tony, go ahead and put all of these ingredients into a highball glass.
All right, lemon, some grape juice. Do you mind passing me that egg? Egg. Water. 2/3 of the way up, right?
That's right.
And some seltzer. Add a little bit of sugar to that. I'm gonna need it. All right, and it's ready to drink?
Almost. Add ice.
Okay. Okay.
Give it a stir.
All right.
And now we're ready for a fruest hour. Cheers. Not bad. I see why the WCTU fruest hours gained some traction during Prohibition.
Very true. So we have bootleggers and temperance activists going head to head at the same time, but what happens next?
During the 1960s, public opinion finally turned the tide in Mississippi, and the WCTU, Anti-Saloon League, and National Prohibition Party could no longer hold it back. In 1966, Governor Paul B. Johnson repealed statewide prohibition, letting counties choose whether they would allow alcohol sales. Today, our state has 29 counties that have remained dry, showing just how lasting prohibition has been in Mississippi.
Thanks, Jessica. Well, Mississippi's Prohibition era was long, but we hope you enjoyed this short history of it. To find out more about Prohibition, how it began and how it ended, I hope you'll stay tuned for more videos and join us here at the two Mississippi Museums to see Mississippi Distilled, open now. Thank you for watching.